It's good to have you join me on Global News on Duma, Nigeria. We begin with Russia-Ukraine war. Russia evacuates Belgorod as it watches Ukrainian threat. Wounded Rohingya flood Bangladesh as Myanmar war escalates. US deploys submarine to Middle East, picks up carrier group. Hamas calls for return to Gaza ceasefire proposal and Kyiv strikes kill 2. Ukraine confirms Kursk incursion. Stay with me for these and more stories. On the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Russia has started evacuations in the Belgorod region as it eyes escalating military operation across the border in Ukraine. On Monday, the governor of Belgorod announced that he had ordered civilians in one district of the region to head for safety. Russian forces are grappling a Ukrainian offensive in the neighboring Kursk region. The enemy is active on the border of the Krasnoyarsk district. Vyacheslav Gladkov cautioned on Monday, "For the health and security of our population, we are beginning to move people who live in Krasnoyarsk to safer places," he said. "I'm sure that our servicemen will do everything to cope with the threat that has arisen." It wasn't clear from Gladkov's statement how many Russian residents have been moved so far in Belgorod, which has regularly come under fire from Ukrainian missiles and drones in recent months. Kyiv is reported to have sharply added military activity close to its border with Belgorod since its forces pushed into Kursk early on August 6th. Russia has vowed a strong reaction to what is Ukraine's biggest incursion into Russia since Moscow invaded its neighbor in 2022. Over 76,000 people have fled the border area in Kursk. According to reports, apparently caught by surprise, Moscow is now reported to have stabilized the front in Kursk, although Ukraine has carved out a sliver of territory where battles were continuing on Monday. Ukraine has now broken its earlier silence on the attacks. President Volodymyr Zelensky acknowledged that Ukraine had launched an incursion into Russian territory to restore justice and pressure Moscow's forces. Russia has enforced a sweeping security regime in the Kursk, Bryansk, and Belgorod regions. Its ally Belarus said it was bolstering troop numbers at its border, with Minsk complaining that Ukrainian drones had violated its airspace. The audacious Ukraine's attacks on Russian sovereign territory are seen as part of Kyiv's bid to show the West that it can still muster major military operations while trying to gain a bargaining chip out of possible ceasefire talks. Russian forces, which have a vast numerical supremacy and control 18% of Ukrainian territory, have been advancing this year along 1,000 kilometers, 620 miles from line in East Ukraine. Staff at its clinic said it was the first time in a year that they had seen extreme injuries on such scale. Orla Murphy, MSF's country representative in Bangladesh, said considering the rise in the number of wounded Rohingya patients crossing from Myanmar in recent years and the nature of the wounds our teams are treating, we are becoming increasingly worried about the effects of the conflict on Rohingya people, adding that it is clear that safe space for civilians in Myanmar is shrinking more each day, with people caught up in the ongoing fighting and forced to make perilous journeys to Bangladesh to seek safety. The mostly Muslim Rohingya have long been an aim of discrimination and ethnic violence in Rakhine. In 2017, no less than 750,000 Rohingya fled into Bangladesh after the Myanmar military launched a brutal crackdown that is now being investigated as a genocide. Many of the thousands who remain continue to live in camps where their movements are restricted. Fighting in the state has intensified in recent months after the AA, which claims to represent Rakhine's Buddhist majority and is fighting for autonomy, joined armed groups fighting against the military, which seized power in a coup in February 2021. At the end of June, the UK-based Burmese Rohingya organization UK Brook warned an intensifying genocide in Rakhine amid fierce fighting in Mongdo, a coastal town near Bangladesh border where many Rohingya live. The same month, the fighting forced MSF to suspend its health services in northern Rakhine. MSF said the Rohingya seeking its help in Bangladesh had told them a desperate situation was unfolding in Rakhine. According to reports, at the weekend, a drone attack just outside Mongdo a week ago killed dozens of people waiting to cross into Bangladesh. MSF said there was a need to immediately protect civilians caught up in the conflict. Again, on Israel-Gaza war, United Nations Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin has ordered a guided missile submarine to the Middle East and the USS Abraham Lincoln air carrier, the strike group, to sail more quickly to the area. The order on Sunday evening followed a phone call between Austin and Israeli Minister of Defense Yoav Gallant amid rising tensions following the killing of senior members of Hamas and the Iran-backed Hezbollah. Austin reiterated the United States' commitment to take every possible step to defend Israel and noted the boosting of U.S. military force posture and capabilities throughout the Middle East in light of escalating regional tensions, the Pentagon said in a statement. The USS Georgia, a nuclear-powered submarine, was already in the Mediterranean Sea in July, according to a U.S. military post on social media, but it is sporadic for the U.S. to publicly announce the deployment of a submarine. The Abraham Lincoln has been in the Asia-Pacific and had already been ordered to the Middle East to replace the USS Theodore Roosevelt aircraft carrier strike group, which is scheduled to begin heading home. Last week, Austin said it was expected to arrive in the area by the end of the month. The carrier has F-35 and F-A-18 fighter jets on board. The U.S. military had already said it would deploy additional fighter aircraft and warships to the Middle East as Washington seeks to reinforce Israeli defenses from possible attack by Iran. Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader of Hamas, the group that rules Gaza and is backed by Iran, was assassinated in Tehran on July 31st, with Iran blaming Israel and promising to retaliate. Israel has not claimed responsibility. The killing of Haniyeh came in the same week that Faoud Shakur, the senior military commander of the Iran-backed group Hezbollah, was killed in an Israeli attack on Beirut, leading to concerns that the conflict in Gaza might expand into a regional war. The U.S. announcement came a day after at least 90 people were killed and nearly 50 others injured in an Israeli attack on a school tent shelter in Gaza, Palestinian health authorities said. The Pentagon added that Austin and Gallant had also discussed the importance of mitigating civilian harm, progress towards securing a ceasefire, and the release of hostages held in Gaza. Closely 40,000 people have been killed since Israel started its war on Gaza last October after Hamas launched a surprise attack on Israel. An approximated 1,139 people were killed during the attack on Israel, with over 200 people taken captive by Hamas. Washington and all the allies have renewed efforts for a ceasefire. Hamas on Sunday said the US, Qatar and Egypt should submit a plan to implement the ceasefire proposal put forward in May by US President Joe Biden, rather than holding more rounds of negotiations and discussing new proposals for Gaza. Still on Israel-Gaza war, Hamas has urged mediators to present a strategy based upon earlier truce talks instead of trying to find a new Gaza ceasefire deals days ahead of talks proposed by the United States, Egypt and Qatar. In a statement, the group said it wants a plan based on U.S. President Joe Biden's May 31st ceasefire proposal, the framework laid out by mediators Qatar and Egypt on May 6th, and the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2735. The May 6th proposal, which Hamas formally agreed to and Israel rejected, also ensures the release of Israeli captives in Gaza, as well as an unspecified number of Palestinians held in Israeli jails. Sunday's Hamas statement added that the mediators should enforce this May 6th proposal on the occupation Israel instead of pursuing further rounds of negotiations or new proposals that will provide cover for the occupation's aggression and grant it more time to continue its genocide against our people. Leaders of the US, Egypt and Qatar last week called on Israel and Hamas to meet for negotiations on August 15th in either Cairo or Doha to finalize a Gaza ceasefire and captive release deal. Hamas spokesperson Jihad Taha said on Saturday that the group's leadership is studying the invitation for this ceasefire talks. Taha said that the one obstructing the success of the last proposal is the Israeli occupation, and stressed that closing the remaining gaps in the ceasefire agreement comes through exerting real pressure on the Israeli side, which was and still is practicing a policy of placing obstacles in the way of the success of any efforts and endeavors leading to ending the aggression. Benjamin Netanyahu, Israeli Prime Minister, has earlier said he will not agree to any deal that stipulated an end to Israel's war on Gaza without the full defeat of Hamas. But Israel has said it will send negotiators to take part in the ceasefire meeting on August 15th. If the talks takes place, it will also mark the first time that Hamas will head into talks with Gaza leader Yahya Sinwar at the helm following Israel's assassination of Ismail Haniyeh. Meanwhile, Israel's strikes in Gaza continue to rage. An Israeli airstrike on the Al Tabin school compound in Gaza City housing displaced Palestinian families killed approximately 100 people on Saturday. Hamas said Israel carrying out the Al Tabin school massacre is further proof that it only wants to escalate its aggression, but the group added that despite this attack, it will continue to adhere to the proposal laid out by the mediators that it had already agreed on previously. On Russia-Ukraine war, Ukrainian officials have said no less than 2 people have been killed and 3 others wounded in a Russian air aid outside Kyiv. A 4-year-old boy and his 35-year-old father were killed in the attack on Sunday just east of the capital, with President Volodymyr Zelensky claiming it involved a North Korean-made missile. In a post, Zelensky offered his condolences to the family of the pair he described as tragically killed. 3 other people were injured, including a 12-year-old boy. He said there has been no immediate comment from Russia on the attack. Kyiv's Air Force said Moscow's overnight strike has also included 57 Iranian-made attack drones that were launched across Ukraine, 53 of which were destroyed by air defenses. Gennady Trokhanov, the mayor of Odessa, also said, according to reports, that an explosion had been heard in the city on Sunday and urged residents to stay in shelters. A fire broke out at the cooling water of Zaporizhia nuclear power plant on the eastern bank of the Dnipro River, a de facto frontline snaking through southern Ukraine, with Kyiv and Moscow blaming each other for the incident. According to reports, Russia, which seized control of the power station soon after it began its full-scale invasion in February 2022, said later on Sunday that a fire had been put out. Moscow and Kyiv both said there was damage to a cooling tower and other equipment. While had been no detected spike in radiation levels, Ukraine's interior minister said it was intensively monitoring the situation from meteorological stations near the plant, which is Europe's largest nuclear power station. Sunday's attack on Kyiv comes as Ukraine braces for more Russian attacks in retaliation for its recent cross-border incursion in the Kursk region. According to Russian officials, Ukrainian servicemen and reports, Kyiv dispatched hundreds of servicemen backed by armored vehicles, artillery and drones to the Kursk region on Tuesday. On Sunday, Zelensky said that Russia had launched nearly 2,000 cross-border strikes from Kursk, a Ukraine's Sumy region, over the summer. Artillery, mortars, drones, we are also record missile strike, and each such strike deserves a fair response, he said. The previous day, he had acknowledged that Ukrainian forces were indeed fighting in Kursk, and said the operation was part of Kyiv's attempt to restore justice after Russia invaded his country in 2022. On more stories, and in Africa, Paul Kagame renews loyalty oath as Rwanda's leader. Rwanda stands at a crossroads as Paul Kagame begins another term, while his supporters hype the country's development under his leadership. The international community remains watchful of the rising fears regarding human rights and the concentration of power in the hands of one man. The ceremony in Kigali was not just a formality, it was a powerful reminder of Kagame's enduring influence and the complex legacy he continues to build in Rwanda. On Sunday, Kagame, recently re-elected as Rwanda's president, was inaugurated in a grand ceremony held in the capital, Kigali. The 66-year-old leader, who has been at the helm since the aftermath of the Rwandan genocide in 1994, took the oath of office, promising his unwavering loyalty to the Republic of Rwanda. He declared, reaffirming his commitment to lead the nation, he said, and I quote, "I, Kagame Paul, do solemnly swear to Rwanda that I will remain loyal to the Republic of Rwanda, observe and defend the Constitution and other laws diligently, and fulfill the responsibility entrusted to me." Kagame's inauguration marks the beginning of yet another term in office, following an election in which he ran virtually unopposed. Despite extensive criticism from various international observers and human rights organizations, Kagame's hold on power remains strong. His critics, including potential rivals, were widely sidelined, with 2 of his strongest opponents being barred from running for high office. Kagame first rose to prominence as the leader of the rebel forces that ended the genocide in 1994, which claimed the lives of nearly 800,000 Rwandans. Since then, he has served as the de facto leader of Rwanda, officially assuming the presidency in 2000. Under his leadership, Rwanda has experienced significant economic growth and stability, earning praise from some of its progress. In 2015, a referendum permitted Rwandans to vote on lifting the two-term limit for presidents. The result overwhelmingly favored the change, paving the way for Kagame to extend his presidency potentially until 2034. This step has stoked debate about the future of democracy in Rwanda, with many questioning the fairness of the referendum and the broader implications for governance in the country. Now, Uganda landfill collapse raises death toll to 21. In the Ugandan capital, a huge landfill site has collapsed, killing at least 21 people, the police said on Sunday, as the body count looks set to rise even further. 14 other people were wounded when the Kitezi landfill, which serves as a waste disposal site for much of Kampala, collapsed late on Friday. Kampala city capital authorities said in a statement at least 2 of the dead were children. The collapse is deemed to have been caused by heavy rainfall. The specific details of what happened were unclear, but the city authorities said there was a structural failure in waste mass. Kampala Metropolitan Police spokesperson Patrick Oyango said they had received 21 bodies of victims from the landfill landslide. The TC landfill is on a steep slope in an impoverished part of the city. Women and children who scavenge plastic waste for income often gather there, and some homes have been built close to the landfill. Kampala authorities for years have considered closing the site and commissioning a bigger area outside the city as a waste disposal site. It was not clear why the plan has failed to take place or take off since 2016. Yoweri Museveni, Uganda president, ordered a probe into the incident, asking in a series of posts why people were living in close proximity to an unstable heap of garbage. We take a quick break, and when we come back, stories from Nigeria. Don't go anywhere. You're welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Now, stories from Nigeria. Senate denies allegations of setting down salaries. The Nigerian Senate has issued a strong renunciation of allegations suggesting that it is involved in determining its salaries or receiving special fiscal packages from the presidency. These claims, which reportedly surfaced during a visit by members of the House of Representatives to ex-President Olusegun Obasanjo, have triggered widespread public concern. In a statement released by Senate spokesperson Yemi Adaramoju, who represents Ekiti South, the Senate described the allegations as an effort to crucify the legislature by the centurions of political hypocrisy. Senator Adaramoju stressed that no senator has received any financial patronage from the presidency. He clarified that the constituency projects often connected to the legislature are merely suggested and nominated by senators, following practices common in other democracies worldwide. To set the record straight, the Senate emphasized that it only receives the salary allocated by the Revenue Mobilization Fiscal Allocation Commission in strict accordance with constitutional provisions. The Senate challenged anyone with credible evidence to present contrary facts, describing any suggestion that the National Assembly fixes its salaries as uncharitable and satanic. The Senate further explained the executive arm of government, through its various ministries and agencies, is responsible for awarding contracts for the constituency projects. The funds allocated for these projects vary depending on the number of constituencies in each state. The intention is to ensure that every region of Nigeria benefits from federal resources. As the country enters what some describe as a season of political pontification, Adaramoju assures the public that the 10th Assembly remains a responsible and responsive chamber. It reiterated its commitment to uphold the economy and growth of Nigeria, maintaining that it only receives what is constitutionally allocated to it and will never seek additional perks from other branches of government. And finally, on the news on judicial matters, Supreme Court grants local government chairman councillors 4-year tenure. In a landslide judgment on local government autonomy, the Supreme Court of Nigeria ordered that the 4-year tenure enjoyed by executive be extended to the offices of all local government chairmen across the country. This is contained in the certified true copy CTC of a ruling delivered by Justice Mohammed Garba and 6 others on May 11, 2024. Garba said some states have, by their various illegal actions, tapped the local government councils in their states to the extent that most of them cannot exercise their constitutional powers or perform their statutory functions. The justice described the situation of the local government in the country as one tier of government's inhumanity to another tier of government. Garba said local government areas in Nigeria, like branches of incorporated bodies or entities, are constitutionally the third tier of government in the federation. Their political and financial independence is duly guaranteed by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 1999 as amended according to him. The justice says Section 2, subsection 2 of the Constitution provides that Nigeria shall be a federation consisting of states and a federal capital territory. He further stated that 36 states in the country are specified in alphabetical order by Section 3, subsection 1 of the Constitution, adding that Section 3, subsection 6 of the Constitution provides that there shall be 768 local government areas in Nigeria, while Section 1, subsection 2 of the Constitution provides that Nigeria shall not be governed, nor shall any person or groups of persons take control of the government of Nigeria or any part thereof except in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution. However, the justice said in respect of 6 area councils of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, there is template legislation by the National Assembly. He said by way of sections 108, 109, 110, and 113 of the Electoral Act 2022, the dissolution tenure of area councils, the vacation of seats of members, removal of the chairman or vice chairman, recall etc. were addressed, and elections to the area councils are promptly conducted and held by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. A recap of major stories says Russia evacuates Belgorod as it watches Ukrainian threat. Wounded Rohingya flood Bangladesh as Myanmar war escalates. US deploys submarine to Middle East, speeds up carrier group. Hamas calls for return to Gaza ceasefire proposal. And Kyiv strike kills 2. Ukraine confirms Kursk incursion. And that's all on the news. Thanks for watching. Have a great week ahead.